The views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily the views of ECTV News, the City of East Chicago, nor this broadcast station or website. ECTV airs public meetings as a service to the community it serves. Speakers at public meetings, broadcast, or posted by ECTV News are solely responsible for their comments. ECTV News reserves the right to edit or remove any profanity or abusive language or behavior deemed inappropriate for our viewing audience. If you have any comments or suggestions about this program, contact ECTV News at 219-391-8206.
Call to order the regular scheduled council meeting for Monday, October 9th, 2017. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado.
Present.
Walker. Vasquez.
Present.
Garcia.
Present.
Orange.
Present.
Perez.
Present.
Medina. Here. Monroe.
Present.
Francisci.
Present. Clerk Santos, for the record, I did get a call from Councilwoman Walker. She is under the weather this evening. First thing on the agenda is called the order of the public hearing. Madam Clerk Santos, first ordinance, please.
Ordinance or resolution for appropriation and tax rate sanitary district. Ordinance 17-0023.
Do we have someone to speak on this?
As you know, we've been going over the budget. The Finance Committee met with my office and the department heads. We've had some workshops. We've gone over the particulars of the budget. I think we had a good session the week before. There were several questions. Kim is gathering some of the information, I think, on legal and Mr. Bennett. We've had, as you can tell from what's going on outside, we had a little disruption this week. We were without our computers for just about the entire week, so we had to get out of our office by Friday last week. So if you have any other questions or comments, anything I could answer, if I can't answer today, I can get the answers from that particular department and bring them to you.
Councilman Garcia.
Did you say, is there an increase in the tax rate for a sanitary district or not?
I don't know if Keith can check on it. I don't think there is. As far as...
Can you approach the podium, please?
Is that in the sanitary side?
Sanitary sites, yes.
Good evening, Keith Selvey, Public Works Director.
Yes.
To be fair, these two do not know what the tax rate's going to be. The notice to taxpayers reflects levy, and levy is going to be used in the computation with assessed value, which we also don't know yet, to create tax rate. Levies did go up in sanitary within the growth rate, the 4% growth rate. I would project, because of the BP abatement roll-off, that assessed values will go up more than 4%, and so the overall effect will be that the sanitary's tax rate will go down marginally, very, very small, almost exactly the same as this year.
Thank you, Steve.
Any other questions? I now open up the podium to see who is for or against ordinance 17-0023. Clerk Santos, next ordinance.
Ordinance 17-0025, ordinance or resolution for appropriation and tax rate civil city.
Well,
Yeah, the first one's been key. Okay. That's why I didn't get up for the first one. Okay.
you can speak on it, or?
Well, I gave my little speech for the first one, which I thought was the one I was up here for.
Councilman Garcia?
Same question.
Okay.
Any rates going up for the civil city?
Same answer, because we're not aware until we get that information, so.
Any other questions? And I'll open up the podium to see who is for or against ordinance 17-0025. I'm now closing the public hearing portion of the meeting. We are going to start our regular scheduled meeting. The minutes will be read next meeting. Do I have any communications from the mayor?
Yes. Attorney Carla Moore.
Good evening. I'm Carla Morgan. I'm an attorney for the city. I believe you were provided with a copy of correspondence from the mayor. Is that true? Okay. If you don't mind, I'm going to read this into the record, if I may. East Chicago Common Council. Dear honorable members of the East Chicago Common Council, as you are aware, Indiana Code 38-3-3D provides that the Common Council has the power to set annual compensation for members of the police and fire departments by November 1st of the following budget year. By November 1st for the following budget year. This code section also provides that the Board of Public Safety may fix the compensation for the police and fire department if the legislative body does not act. The council also has the ability to provide for benefits, including fringe benefits, if benefits are not set elsewhere. See Indiana Code 5-10-6-1B and the 2018 City and Town Budget Bulletin, page 23. But along with the power to set salaries, Indiana law also establishes that the legislative body has a duty to ensure that there is sufficient budget within a given department to cover the salary set by the council. In the case Lafayette versus Keene, and I won't read the whole site, but it was a 1943 case, the Indiana Court of Appeals held that where the legislative body provides for salaries for the employment of public safety employees, there is a, quote, mandatory duty upon the Common Council to appropriate annually sufficient money to pay their salaries for the ensuing year, close quote. Indiana courts have consistently held that the Common Council must ensure that there are sufficient appropriations to pay salaries. The Indiana Supreme Court held that it is, quote, the statutory duty of the Common Council to make appropriations and provide the money with which to pay salaries. In that case is Wirt versus State. It was also from the 1940s. Note that there are potentially dire consequences for the city if the Common Council fails to honor this duty. In Gary versus State, the Common Council of the City of Gary increased the compensation for police officers, but failed to find the money in the budget or the appropriate money to pay for these salaries. The appropriation for salaries for members of the police department was insufficient to cover the salary increase, but police officers continued to work and earn salary and overtime at the higher rate. A class action suit was filed against the City of Gary to force payment of the salaries provided by the ordinance of the Common Council. The Indiana Court of Appeals ordered the city to pay the officers the increased salaries and overtime despite the fact that there was no appropriation. The Court of Appeals reiterated the responsibility fell on the Common Council, stating that there was, quote, a mandatory duty upon the Common Council to appropriate annually sufficient money to pay their salaries for the ensuing year, as the same might be fixed by ordinance. And again, that's Gary versus State. As a result of the Common Council's failure to provide for an appropriation to match the salary increases, the city not only had to find money to pay its police officers at the higher rate despite the lack of appropriations, but it also had to find money to pay legal fees. None of that that would have been necessary if the council had simply met its long-established duty to ensure that raises matched appropriations. While funds may be transferred within a department without a transfer of appropriations ordinance, say for benefits to salaries, appropriations that involve moving funds between departments or increasing the city budget require approvals which may or not be feasible. For instance, transfers from one department to another require a transfer of appropriations ordinance. Such an ordinance can only be initiated by the executive of the city and approved by the legislative body. The legislative body cannot initiate such an appropriation. Additionally, an appropriation which increases the city budget requires approval of the Department of Local Government Finance and a public hearing under Indiana Code 6-1.1-18-5. With regard to the number of sick days, ordinance, this is East Chicago City Ordinance number 2015-0029, states as follows with regard to sick days. Section F, paid sick leave / personal time. Quote, the mayor shall establish the number of sick days for employees of the city for the fiscal year by December 31st of the prior year by executive order, close quote. Additionally, the Corporation Council sought the opinion of Charlie Pride of the Indiana State Board of Accounts regarding Indiana Code 38-3-3D. As specifically applied to this statute regarding salaries for police and fire, the SBOA makes a distinction between compensation and fringe benefits and has found that sick days is a fringe benefit which lies outside of the purview of the statute, meaning that statute 38-3-3D. In an effort to improve the public's safety, the city reduced the number of sick days from 6 to 12. This gave us an additional 600 days of police protection per year and enhanced public safety. We have enjoyed 5 years of improved public safety and declining crime rates. While there has been a reduction of sick days, we must not lose sight of the generous 45 days of vacation that police and fire enjoy every year. I ask that you do not disturb this balance. Thus, I ask that you do not change the sick leave of police officers and firefighters without fully analyzing what the proposed changes may do to the departments and their respective budgets. At the very least, you must ensure that there is an appropriation which will cover the additional overtime which will result from the granting of additional sick and/or personal leave to public safety employees. We each have a duty as elected officials to be good stewards of the city budget. We have a duty to make sure that the money is there for each and every city expense created by ordinance or otherwise. While the council has the power to set salaries and benefits, it cannot do so blindly. Specifically, the law places the burden on the council as a legislative body to ensure that there is an appropriation for every dollar in salary and benefits that the Common Council authorizes. The Common Council must ensure that there is sufficient appropriation to cover salary and benefit increases before it authorizes the increase. The council cannot itself initiate an appropriation but must find money in the existing departmental budget for the increase. Barring that, the legislative body must work cooperatively with the executive to ensure that there is a sufficient appropriation. Moreover, the council should not create an undue burden on taxpayers by indiscriminately increasing the budgets or triggering costly litigation. We just came out of an era where, by spending indiscriminately, the city created a crippling deficit which took years for the city to climb out of. I ask that you honor your duty and not create undue chaos by failing to act responsibly. Sincerely, Anthony Copeland, Mayor. Thank you.
Clerk Santos, do we have anything from department heads?
Yes, accounts payable warrant 100917CC.
So moved.
Second. Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to accept accounts payable warrant 100917CC. Have any questions on the motion? Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
No.
Orange,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes.
Accounts payable warrant 100917LA.
So moved, Mr. President. Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Vasquez, seconded by Councilwoman Orange, to accept accounts payable warrant 100917LA. Have any questions on the motion? Clerk Santos, roll call.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
No.
Orange,
Yes.
Perez, Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes.
Accounts payable warrant 10091-7BD.
So moved.
Second. Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to accept accounts payable warrant 100917BD. Any questions on the motion? Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
No.
Orange,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes.
Accounts payable warrant 101317CC.
So moved. Motion was made by Councilman Monroe, seconded by Councilwoman Orange, to accept accounts payable warrant 101317CC. Any questions on the motion? Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
No.
Orange,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Medina, Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes.
Payroll warrant bi-weekly 092217.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second. Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to accept accept payroll warrant bi-weekly 092217. Any questions on the motion? Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes.
Payroll warrant monthly 100217.
So moved, Mr. President.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Vasquez, seconded by Councilman Garcia, to accept payroll warrant monthly 100217. Any questions on the motion? Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Medina, Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes.
BZA petition 2017-02 variance at 4206 Bering Avenue.
Good afternoon, Marino Solorio, Planning and Economic Development Director for the city.
Richard Morris, Road Planning Consultant, Assistant City Attorney.
So, you should have in front of you an ordinance and some facts and findings for this petitioner in regards to 4206 Bering Avenue, which is currently zoned as an R1A, which the zoning classification lets you be able to have one unit and or if it's a duplex, up to 2 units. We have kind of deferred when speaking, Richard and myself, that the maximum we would allow in an R1A is 2 units inherently because of the duplex language. It does provide for 2 units, so that's the max that we would allow. This petitioner has had the front of the home is actually 2 units already. And the garage was actually converted way long time ago into a unit also, which has sit vacant for 4 years. And so, being that it has sat vacant for 4 years, it has not gone back to the zoning classification, which is R1A. Therefore, cannot have a 3rd unit on that zoning classification. What this BZA does is it will let the petitioner, with some conditions that I will read out right now, is that it would let them be able to fix the current unit that's on top of the garage and be occupied. The condition that we are setting through is that there is a preference that the first unit, which is in the front, become a single unit. Currently, right now, it is 2 units. It has a studio and then another unit. But it's just a preference. It's not a condition. So I just want to make that clear for the record. The condition, however, is that if the third unit is to be fixed, it can only be occupied by a family member of the owner of the property. If at any point that property is, or someone else is renting that unit that is not a family member, then they lose that ability to be able to have 3 units on that zoning classification.
However, they may change the unit in the front to a single unit and then have the garage in the back. That would be permissible for a subsequent owner. The owners, the Aguilaras, are here this afternoon. If you have any questions, either of ourselves or of them.
Councilman Garcia?
Mr. Aguilera, it's a pleasure to see you. You know the conditions, and you guys agree to those conditions?
We have to.
Just want to just get that clarified, but it's great seeing you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
One thing I would like to say is the house.
Can you come up, Miss? I'm sorry. Yeah.
The building that we have is, has a lot of history to it. One of your mayors, Andrew Rooney, owned that building. So I just would like you to know that. And his picture is back there on the wall. Thank you. You're welcome.
Do we have any committee reports? Moving on to board reports, I believe we do have Commissioner Rodriguez here.
Henry Rodriguez, council appointee to the Waterway Management District. I know I usually don't give my report until this next council meeting, but concerning the dredging, there's going to be the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is going to hold their annual dredging public meeting October 18th at 6 p.m., so that would have been before the next council meeting. So I thought I'd come and tell you now. It's going to be, like I said, October 18th at 6 p.m. at the annex over in Railroad Avenue. So it's just the Army Corps of Engineers going to be there. The contractors are going to do the dredging to give information and answer questions. That's all I got.
Thank you. Clerk Santos, any orders on first reading?
Yes, ordinance 17-0023, ordinance or resolution for appropriation and tax rates, sanitary district.
So moving first and second reading, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Medina, to hear ordinance 17-0023 on second reading. Have any discussion on the motion? Clerk Santos, roll call to adopt ordinance 17-0023 on second reading.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Perez, Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes.
Ordinance ordinance 17-0025, ordinance or resolution for appropriation and tax rates, civil city.
So moving first, second reading, Mr. President.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Medina, to hear ordinance 17-0025 on second reading. Any discussion on the motion? Councilman Medina?
Councilman Garcia, did you receive documentation on everything we requested from that budget meeting we had?
I received no information whatsoever.
No more questions.
Clerk Santos, roll call to adopt ordinance 17-0025 on second reading.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
No.
Orange,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Medina,
No.
Monroe,
No.
Franciski.
Yes.
Ordinance 17-0029, sponsor Councilwoman Maldonado, Councilman Medina, Councilman Garcia, and Councilman Perez.
So move.
Can I read the title?
Second.
Let him read it.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to hear ordinance 17-0029 on second reading. Any discussion on the motion? Councilwoman Orange.
Steve Dalton, maybe you can answer these questions I have. Now, will all the retirees from the 77 plan and just retired get raised with this?
Okay, there's two different types of retirees. So if I'm not mistaken, Councilman Medina can set me straight if I'm wrong on this. I believe the newer retirees are on a cost of living adjustment. So this would only affect the older retirees on the 77 plan. And yes, they would get a raise, which I believe reflects half of the raise that was passed through to the master police officer and the master firefighter.
Also, where is the money coming out of to give the raises?
It'll be up to you as the council. You heard the mayor's letter earlier. There will be additional cost. I estimate between $200,000 and $400,000. I can dial it in with Rob's help because I need to get the years of service and make sure I have longevity right for all the firefighters and police. Between $200,000 and $400,000 additional. It was not accounted for in the budget that you have in front of you. I think that it's important to point out that because you didn't get to see the budget prior to its advertisement, you didn't have a hand in developing the numbers that were put in the budget, because that's the mayor's responsibility. And the mayor pointed out in his letter that he's the only one that can bring you an additional appropriation, and that's true. So we're at a bit of a quandary. How do you enact your authority to set police and fire salaries and compensation if the mayor is the only one that can bring you a budget and the mayor is the only one that can bring you an additional appropriation? I would dare say that in the case of Gary, there was a battle between the council and the mayor that ended up in litigation. I think that Ms. Morgan was suggesting the same, but that wouldn't happen here, that the mayor would either support a budget that you made revisions to, amending some line in another portion of this budget downward to reflect the increases that you've added to police and fire, or bringing you an additional appropriation next year to cover those increases.
Councilwoman Orange.
So if we ask to be put in this residency bonuses for the fire and police that live here, are we able to do this under this ordinance here?
The ordinance in front of you reflects the prior year's ordinances and resolutions that have been passed by the Board of Public Safety, and there were residency bonuses in those already, so it reflects the same exact residency bonuses. If you wanted to increase the residency bonuses, it's my position, not legal, because I'm not your legal advisor, that you could do so. It would be a fringe benefit that I believe you have the right to set. I think Ms. Morgan might have suggested a different legal position.
So at this time, I'd like to make an amendment to ordinance 17-0029 and give residency bonuses of $2,500 for every East Chicago firefighter and policeman that live in this city.
Second.
Motion was made to amend ordinance 17-0029 by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilwoman Maldonado. Any questions? Councilman Medina?
Council, so we're going to increase the current 1,500 to 25 or 25 additional?
I'd like to give them 10,000 Stan, but 2,500.
So we're revising paragraph 12, correct? that correct, Mr. President?
Reflected on page 11, and then again, the fire on page 14.
No more questions.
Any other questions? Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
No.
Perez,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Councilwoman Vasquez?
Yes. When we first started discussions with the Finance Committee, we met with police chief, we met with the fire chief. But one of the concerns with the police department was that we were losing our officers. I think they quoted we had lost 15 officers. And we were trying to see what kind of solution we could come up with to keep those police officers here in the city of East Chicago and to stop this training them and then them going to other cities and making more money. We didn't address that in our finance committee. We didn't address it in any of our executive sessions, and that was one of the main concerns. I believe one of the officers even spoke at one of our council meetings stating that they needed help. We didn't address that. So I would like to suggest that it be deferred to our committee, Public Safety Committee, and that we meet with police and fire, because I wasn't involved in any of those other discussions with police and fire.
Okay. I believe Councilman Medina, you are the Public Safety Chair. It's possible you can set a meeting up.
Sure.
Councilwoman Orange?
And Councilwoman Vasquez, I understand your concern of the police officers leaving. In one of our meetings that we had at the library, I think it's Sergeant Campos even mentioned the fact, and after I had said, that some of the people have come to the city knowing that they were going to leave as soon as opening came wherever they were living at. So it's not just about the money, that some of them have already planned to move along as an opening came along. So it's not just the money, because if that was the case, then the other officers that have stayed here wouldn't be here. And so that may be a point of some of them, but I've heard officers say that, I'm only going to stay this a couple of years, and then I'm going to go to the city that I live in because it's closer for me, so I have sympathy on both sides, but one thing I can say is that when you go into a town that only maybe have 20 officers and they don't have to pay the insurance, and for 70 or 90 officers, they can make more money because they only have a limited amount. Same like when they have these volunteer firefighters, and they don't have to pay the taxes for that. We have to pay the taxes for 90 officers, plus the benefits, plus the fringes, and everything else. So a lot of them are not just leaving because they're only making $54,000. Some of them have already planned to leave, and that's something that we need to look into to say that if you left before 3 years, did you return the money back that we sent you to school for, so that people can stop coming here and getting whatever they can get and then leaving to go to another place.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes. I don't agree with that assessment. It's about, what you have for your officers. And the officers in public safety had a lot in this city, and a lot's been taken from public safety. The most that's been taken away is from public safety. Sick days, insurance has gone up and everything, but we owe it to them. They've been working hard, but they had so much taken away from them. It is about benefits. We had 10 officers this year that left. I don't think they're coming in here and saying, we're going to work in East Chicago when we leave. There's nothing there to keep them here. And that's the problem. I got the table.
Some of them have.
they don't have nothing to keep them here. And that's the thing, the officers that we still have, we've been blessed that they still here, they have seniority, and they love East Chicago, and I know that's the reason why they do it, because they love East Chicago. Believe me, if I knew if them officers, firemen could go somewhere, they would. They would. But I just find this letter it's just interesting to me, because there's a sentence in there: the legislative body must work cooperatively with the executive branch. When has he ever extended his olive branch to us, reference this budget? Not one time. I've sent that man letters. I tried to discuss certain issues with him. Not one return letter or phone call to me. He has never came to this council to talk about this budget to us. We could work with him. There's 9 of us here. But he does not cooperate with us. He does not come before us, reference this budget, or makes us a part of this budget with our ideas. And it's just funny to me that this letter that he sends to me, and now he sends them talking about cooperating. When has he cooperated with this council? That's why I want to know.
Councilwoman Orange?
I'm not here to defend the mayor. I think he can do that on his own. But Councilwoman Maldonado did meet with him on our behalf to ask him the things that we asked him to either look into or not. So she did meet with him on the council's behalf.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes, and that was after the fact, after we took the bulls by the horn, that's when he wanted to have a meeting with us. But never before that, he never discussed nothing with this council.
Your turn.
Well, you know, this kind of reminds me of the President Obama situation where people just figured they could say anything to that president or that administration and with no recourse. I sit on this council with most of you, only a few of you that did not sit under the George Babay administration. Never did you ever ask him for anything. He never came before the council. You never asked him to come before the council. And now all of a sudden you want the tide to change. It just looks kind of funny to me. But you know, the citizens of East Chicago will decide. The thing of it is that you have opened up the door, and now you won't be able to close it by who sits over in that office and make a distinction on who sits there and whether you want to do something against that person or not. And so now it's open. So now the next person that you like and but that sits over there, then all of a sudden you won't be able to change the rules of engagement. And I'm hoping that I'll live to see it.
Councilman Perez?
I'm sorry that this tone of this council sounds like it's political. It isn't. The city is healthy, and that in large part is to the good job that the mayor has done. But at the same time, this council, by statute, has a responsibility to determine compensation for police and fire. Us doing that is not an attack upon the mayor or upon any of the mayor's power. There are monies in the city. He's found money to give a bonus for the last 3 years. All we're suggesting is that that bonus gets incorporated into salary so they can affect these guys in their pension ranks as they retire. I really don't see this as an issue between them and us over here, the executive and the legislative. It's an issue of the city council exercising a statutory right to set compensation for police and fire. And I just wish that everyone on this council would not making politics. This is just trying to take care of our police and firemen. I got a list of the 17 policemen, 17 left in the last 3 years. There's an economic cost to that. You figure for 3 years for one policeman, probably anywhere between $250,000 to $300,000 per officer, that we don't reap those benefits anymore. Miss Orange is right. Some of them are going to leave anyway. But I can't believe all 17 were going to leave. We haven't been consistent in the pay of our police and fire, our public safety. We've made all the budget cuts we can make in this city. We've eliminated EMS. We've cut back on sick days. We lowered starting ranks in the police and fire. We're just trying to say, now that things are back to normal, now that they're fiscally sound, we should give some of that back to the people who's carried the burden with us. That's all I got to say.
Councilman Garcia?
You know, it's just funny to me. Mayor's been in office 7 years, and people want to keep on going back to our previous mayor. And that's a joke, you know, because he's been there 7 years. He's got to take the responsibility. When I came in this office, all right, I tried to meet with him. Wouldn't meet with him. Sent some letters, not a return phone call. So it hasn't been me. I reached out to him. It's his choice not to reach out to me, all right? $5 million rollover from last year to this year. $5 million that we haven't reappropriated that money. None of it, all right? And just some of the money just through the years, you know, Crowley, roughly $500,000 a year. For 4 years, that's $2 million. Bennett, over $100,000. Daverton, over $100,000. Alexandria, over $100,000. There's plenty of money in the city for us to do this for public safety and city employees.
Councilwoman Orange?
I can't say about Mr. Crowley, but he came into a situation where the filtration plant that was voted on was never sound, and he was there busy trying to fix it. Whatever he got, he deserved, because we would have never been able to put that filtration plant online. Allegretti and Bennett was there up under the last administration, but they seem to be okay up under that one. And you can say whatever you want to say about going backwards, but it's just to see the difference in how the tone is now and then it was. That's my point.
Councilman, Clerk Santos?
Yeah, Mr.
We
President.
have roll call for ordinance 17-0029
On its amended version.
on the amended version.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
No.
Perez,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Councilman Garcia?
Yeah, just my last comment, yeah. Crowley he came into a situation, I don't know what happened to that situation, but he left the situation, it's just still a mess over there.
Clerk Santos, next ordinance, please.
Ordinance on second reading, ordinance 17-0026, salary ordinance for appointed officers and employees of the city of East Chicago.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to hear ordinance 17-0026 on second reading. Any discussion on the motion? Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Clerk Santos, do we have any ordinances on third reading?
Yes, Mr. President, ordinance 17-0027, sponsor Mayor Anthony Copeland, an ordinance fixing salaries of elected officials of the city of East Chicago, Indiana for the year 2018.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to hear ordinance 17-0027 on third reading. Any discussion on the motion? Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange. Orange,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Clerk Santos, do we have any resolutions?
Yes, Mr. President, resolution 17 2019-0007, sponsored Councilwoman Myrna Maldonado. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago concerning a petition for use variance to allow the garage property located at 4206 Bering Avenue to be occupied.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilwoman Maldonado. Do I have any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Marsh?
Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado?
Yes. Yes.
Continue with your roll call.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Orange?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Franciski?
Yes, resolution passes. Do you have any old business? Councilman Garcia?
Leon, if you could send a letter to Ms. Natalie Adams, tell her thank you for responding to my questions. I really appreciate it.
Any other old business? Councilman Garcia? I'm sorry, Medina? Sorry. You have hair, sorry.
My question is for Councilwoman Orange. You made a motion to amend the salary ordinance, but then you voted against it. May I ask you why?
I'll get it on the next one.
Thank you.
Any other old business?
I know, Mr. President, you've asked for a Public Safety Committee to be convened. It might be helpful if there were either a Finance Committee meeting in the next 2 weeks or a combined meeting due to the issue of needing to perhaps move some line items around in the budget before final adoption.
Okay, I'll talk to each chairperson or Councilman Medina.
Mr. President, why don't we can we take care of this business in executive session?
Now we're supposed to do budget in the executive session.
How about the appropriations part? The re-appropriations that we have?
I think the only part that's allowable in executive session is negotiations of wages if you're doing collective bargaining. I don't believe that we can have a budget. All right.
Councilwoman Orange?
If we could set for the judge and maybe a next meeting for the clerk to talk about their two budgets, we haven't heard from them. And I know. I can't single out one person.
Okay, all right.
So if they could come next, before the next meeting and talk about their budgets.
Any other old business?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vasquez?
are we just, we'll wait to hear from Councilman Medina regarding that meeting with fire and police?
I hope so. Yes, I'm sure he'll get us something.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes. I will inform the committee when I come up with a date. It's good for all of us.
Okay.
Moving on to new business. Do we have any new business? Moving on to public expression. Clerk Santos, do we have any? Have a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Perez, seconded by Councilman Monroe. Clerk Santos, roll call, please.
Maldonado?
Yes.
Excuse me,
Vasquez?
Councilwoman. Thank you.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Orange? Perez?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Franciski?
Yes. Good night.